UFC Vegas 96. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure you share the video as well. And also note, I'm going to be live for this entire UFC card Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Don't miss the fight companion. I didn't start it off by saying I'm looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on this card because, you know, a handful of them I'm not very excited for. There's some okay sleeper fights, but overall pretty weak Apex card. Better than not having fights, but after the high of UFC 305, and now you give me the absolute adrenaline dump, right? I have the dopamine drop. I got nothing, and I got to watch this card. I'd rather have an off week and then build anticipation for this Vegas 96 card after I realized how much I missed the UFC on a Saturday. So I think the UFC should adopt that. Don't follow a 305 with a Vegas 96 like this. Either way, we're getting into it. Enough of the rant. First fight on the card, we got Cong Wang versus Victoria Leonardo. I'm going with Cong Wang. If she can't win and somehow Victoria Leonardo pulls this off, then MMA makes zero sense. I mean, it doesn't all the time, most of the time, but especially if that takes place. Because Cong Wang in kickboxing has a win over Shevchenko. I went and watched that fight. It was honestly pretty close. It wasn't like a clean W. I think it could have kind of gone either way. Could have been my Shevchenko bias, but Cong Wang's good. She won on road to UFC. She actually won by submission on road to UFC. So she's well-rounded, even though she comes from that base of the kickboxing and, you know, taking a Shevchenko fight and winning is crazy. And then, you know, she fought Wu Yanan, who's an ex-UFC washout at 1-5 and dominated her. But yeah, she got a submission win on road to UFC. I think that's actually a pretty solid accolade. She's got nice low kicks, good takedown defense as well is something I recognize watching that Yanan Wu fight. On the side of Leonardo, scrappy journeywoman, you know, okay high guard and pressure, but really isn't too athletic. She's probably going to look to wrestle. I think that Cong Wang can knock her out. I think she's going to dominate the fight. Women's fights never fail to end up going decision because let's be real here. You know, the ladies' power is not the same as the males, but I think Cong Wang can touch up Victoria Leonardo. It'd be nice to get a knockout win in her debut. I was watching that road to UFC fight for Cong Wang, and the commentary was talking about how, you know, somebody in the UFC, I don't remember who it was, might have been a matchmaker, had mentioned that they think Cong Wang is already ready to be ranked. So, damn, she better knock out Victoria Leonardo with hype like that. Cong Wang's a minus 850 favorite, man. Holy shit. Those odds suck. The over 1.5 at minus 190. It's women's MMA, right? So you'd think it's going over 1.5. I wouldn't even touch that over. I don't know. I'll have to think about it later in the week. Right now, I'm thinking over, under, flip a damn coin. Cong Wang might put her out in the first round. I definitely think she's going to have a massive speed advantage, and I got to zoom in a bit here. She's going to have a massive speed advantage, power advantage. She's going to be better everywhere. I think that Cong Wang is live for a first-round knockout. I got to go with the Joker, Cong Wang, to get it done easily. She better, because losing to Victoria Leonardo after hearing that she should, you know, be fighting ranked opposition by some in the UFC officials, the higher-ups, I guess you could say, that would be a big letdown. Damn, she should be a lock. I'm going with Cong Wang all day long. Cong Wang, baby. Cong Wang it up in here. Yo, Cong Wang gang for UFC Vegas 96. Drop it in the freaking comments. Let's jump to the next one. Josiane Nunes versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. I'm going with Josiane Nunes. I know Cavalcanti's pretty clean with the striking, but she fights at such a sparring and technical pace. I'm just not certain she's going to be able to do as well with a Josiane Nunes who fights a little more chaotically and wild, right? She doesn't have your traditional kickboxing flow, is more of a pressure-based, wide hooks, like, I don't know, a Jessica Andrade spinoff is a fair, accurate comparison for Josiane Nunes. I don't think too many people are disagreeing. Yes, she fights similar to Jessica Andrade, maybe not as precise and not as good at the grappling. She did okay in that third round with Chelsea Chandler. She had Chandler busted up. Cavalcanti's only win is Zara Farron, who's horrible, and Nunes also beat Zara Farron. When I looked at Cavalcanti in this fight here, Martina Jandiroba, I know it was 2.5 years ago, but But what I noticed is she didn't look as clean as she did in her debut against Farron. Now you can say, oh, so she's gotten better. Wait a second. I think that a scrappy pressure boxer, not a rangy kickboxing style, is going to be a kryptonite for Cavalcanti. And I got to go with Josiane Nunes, who you know is going to bring pressure, who we all know doesn't quit. How can I not pick her to go out and win? I'm going Josiane Nunes for the W. And she's a good underdog. Plus 170. I think Nunes gets it on the cards. Cavalcanti 2-1. Cavalcanti's a 2-1 favorite. I don't know. I would have thought like minus 150. Over 2.5 probably at minus 260. But Nunes as an underdog. I think it's going to be a scrappy fight. I think Cavalcanti in the first round maybe controls distance a bit, but then Nunes starts to find her range, starts to make her uncomfortable, back her up with big shots, and I think Josiane Nunes is taking a W home. So I'm riding with her. Josiane Nunes to get the win, and I'm excited for it. I'm taking her as an underdog. All right, ladies fight. We can't go all chalky ladies favorites, man. We're going with Josiane Nunes to win. Not just because she's a dog on the, odds, but she's a dog right inside, right in the heart. She's the opposite of Herbert Burns. That's what Josiane Nunes is. And I think she's going to bring some fire to Jacqueline Cavalcanti. In a scrappy competitive fight, Nunes outdogs the kickboxer and gets a decision win. We got more. Next fight on the card, Vyacheslav Borshchev versus James Llontop. I'm going to go with Vyacheslav Borshchev, but I just got a bad feeling about it. And it's not because James Llontop is that good. It's because Vyacheslav Borshchev has been getting dropped a lot. If you remember 2 fights ago against Nazim Sadikov, the reason it was a draw is because he got pulverized in the second round after getting dropped, and he was rocked, and he was on wobbly legs, and he was beaten up from top. That chin of Slav is worrisome. And do you guys not remember? Chase Hooper dropped him. I know that James Llontop, though, is coming off a loss to Chris Padilla, who was a can coming in. He took the fight on short notice, and then he gets a first-round submission. I know they're both strikers, but as bad as Slava Claus looked against Chase Hooper, I do feel like the reason that Hooper was able to catch him was because of the element of surprise. I do not think Slava had any respect for Chase Hooper's striking, period. I think he was purely focused on takedown attempts. And when Chase Hooper went low, he didn't expect the punch to come over the top, and that's the punch that put him down. James Llontop's a decent kickboxer. He's scrappy, but he couldn't knock out Malik Lewis on Contender Series. I don't know. He's fought a lot of, South/Central American cans. He's a scrappy dude. He's young at 25. Stance switches, likes the southpaw kicks. There's things to like about James Llontop on the feet, but Slava Claus does come from a championship caliber kickboxing background, and I'm really supposed to go out and pick against Slava because he lost to guys that at least have proven UFC track records. I can't do that. I mean, he had a draw with Nazim Sadikov. Regardless of him being dropped, Sadikov's pretty good. I'm going to go with Slava to find a way. I think in a competitive fight, Slava maybe with a late knockout. But as I say that, I start seeing James Llontop dropping him. So, yeah, Slava Claus on the betting side, we're going to look at the odds, but I don't think it's a good idea, man. He could be washed. Minus 240 for Slava, Llontop plus 205. It's like, how the fuck can I go and pick Llontop as a confident underdog? I can't. I can pick Nunes as a confident dog. Llontop might catch him with a big punch and knock him out, but bro, you lose your debut to Chris Padilla. I don't care that he's a wrestler and this is a striker versus striker fight. It's not even what I'm worried about. It's the fact that the opposition level, man. Holy hell. And this is what we're picking between. Wow, Slava Claus has fallen far, man. His fall from grace has been historic. Because at one point he was exciting and he's a guy with good striking. And, I picked him, I think, against Mark Jacasey. I look like a buffoon now. But in the moment, Slava had that striking hype. Now I'm wondering, James Llontop might be a live underdog against him. Wow, how times have changed. Yeah, I wouldn't bet Slava. I mean, I don't think it's a horrible underdog bet of James Llontop. But just recognize if you're betting Llontop, he literally got submitted in the first round by Padilla. He won a decision against Malik Lewis, and now he's going to knock out Slava. Not saying it's impossible. Styles make the fights, but Slava is better at striking than him. and Llontop is a striker. So I'm going to go with Slava Claus to find a way to win, but Santa Claus might be sleeping, bro. He might get laid down. It's a worry. Slava's a worrisome call because I don't know where he's at this point. But if he's at 100%, I do think he should beat a James Llontop, and I think he's live to knock him out late. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card, we got Jose Medina versus Zach Reese. Do I want to do it? I almost did it. I almost picked Jose Medina, but I'm not. Because I think Zach Reese is smart enough to recognize that Jose Medina is not a guy that's easy to put away. And Zach Reese is way better at technical aspects of the game. Medina's like straight heart. I mean, go watch the Gadzhi Yasulov fight. Medina doesn't really have much skill, but he's got a really good chin. He's got good pressure. Now, he does have a jiu-jitsu skill set in there. He's not horrible on the ground. He's 33. He's dropping from 205 to 185. And I checked out his Instagram. He's actually training at Entrom Gym now, and there's some savages over there. And he's definitely more cut up for this fight. He was signed to the UFC after his loss to Gadzhi Yasulov. And I love a good underdog story. I do. And I'm, as a fan, kind of hoping that Medina takes Zach Reese into the deep waters and breaks him. Because I do have a thought that crossed my mind. Listen to the breakdown, okay? Yeah, I picked Reese because I think he should be smart enough to fight safer, find some takedowns, land some big strikes, but not go chaotic. Reese is not a guy that's ever been out of the first round. Medina's been long in fights before. What happens when Zach Reese does try to go and get a first-round knockout? Medina's tough enough to survive the onslaught. Reese is gassed in the second, and Medina finishes him off. I think Medina, as an underdog bet, is better than throwing, your house money at fucking Zach Reese. But I also think something's interesting here. Because the over 1.5 is plus money, and Medina is not an easy guy to put away. Zach Reese is known for killing people. Minus 110. It was actually at plus 130 earlier. Wow, the line has come down. People betting it heavy. I think Medina's going to give a Rocky effort. I think he's going to be like the real Rocky, the Bolivian Rocky inside of the UFC, where he's going to be tough, he's going to fight hard, he's going to make it competitive in moments, but he's still going to lose. This is Zach Reese's Tom Nolan moment, where the odds are wide. It's looking like he should absolutely dust his opponent, and then he ends up having to win a gritty decision. But I feel like the team Reese has got around him, he trains with like Andre Petrosky and those guys. They got him prepared to wrestle. They got him prepared to control, pick his shots well. I don't think Zach Reese is an idiot. If Zach Reese is a moron, he's going to try to blitz Medina in the first round, and then there's a high chance that Medina's chin holds up. Zach Reese is gassed going into the second, and Medina lays him clean. But I think that even though Reese has all these first-round finishes, doesn't mean he can't win a fight going into the later stages. So I think Zach Reese, I don't know, late submission would be live here, or a decision, to be fair. Because, Medina went long with Gadzhi Yasulov. Gadzhi Yasulov's pretty decent. I don't know. Gadzhi Yasulov's really flashy with his striking, but he's kind of overrated. I'll tell you this. The takedown defense of Medina was exposed later a bit by Gadzhi Yasulov. I think Reese can get on that. At 185... what are we going to get? We might get a more savage Jose Medina. Maybe he's dropping some hammers and he ends up getting a freaky upset. But I think Zach Reese should win. This would be a really horrible loss for Reese. He's coming off a 20-second knockout of Julian Marquez, who at one point was considered kind of good in MMA. Cody Brundage slammed him and knocked him out, but that was a weird sequence. And then a win on Contender Series. I think Zach Reese, to fight smart, either a later finish or a decision, he really just can't blow his wad in the first round, and he shouldn't get reckless because Medina thrives in really scrappy dogfights where the technique is thrown out the window and they're just sitting in ready to go to war. That's the type of fighter Medina is. What's interesting, this dude works on a farm all day, a chicken farm. I think he said he's a veterinarian. I went back and rewatched the Contender Series fight with Gadzhi Yasulov, and I watched that little intro. I like Medina's story. You can't help but root for him getting signed after a loss, but it just seems unlikely that he beats a pretty talented guy in Zach Reese. I feel like, they could have gave Medina more of a can in this fight. I would have liked to have seen Medina versus maybe like Dennis Tululin, something along the lines of that, or like a Joseph Holmes type fight, not a Zach Reese. Zach Reese is a fairly good prospect. I think he's got decent potential. I'll take Zach Reese to find a way to win. I think he fights smart enough. I don't think he sells just looking for the knockout early. I'm going Zach Reese for the W. Next fight on the card, our featured prelim of the night, Dennis Buzukja versus Danny Silva. I'll take Danny Silva on a 29-28. It's going to be pretty close. I feel like the odds are stupid here. I looked at the odds. They were minus 240 for Danny Silva. I don't know how he's a minus 240 favorite. And that doesn't mean he can't win and doesn't mean he won't win. But minus 240? What? What did he do to get big odds like that? He beat Culibao. Look how bad Culibao and Ramos looked this past weekend. The thing is, Dennis Buzukja is not that high caliber. He's got decent boxing skills. I like his hooks. He's got a bit of speed on him, and he does come from the Serra-Longo gym, so he's got some jiu-jitsu in the back pocket. But I think Danny Silva is stronger than him. I think Danny Silva is a better wrestler, and I like Danny Silva's pressure a bit more. I don't know. I feel like he's more relentless than Buzukja, and I also think he's going to dictate the pace, and I think he's going to have Buzukja going backwards a bit. I think you're going to see Danny Silva get a close one. He beat the shit out of Angel Pacheco on the damn Contender Series, but let's be honest, Pacheco turned out to be a bit of a can. And then the Culibao win, I mean, impressive because he was a dog and not expected to do much. But, Culibao is not that high tier. Dennis Buzukja, he's coming off a win, though, over, Connor Matthews. That's not a major win. That's not even a UFC caliber guy. And then destroyed by Jamal Emmers, dominated by Sean Woodson. I think Danny Silva's live for a close decision. I think he makes it a good scrap. I think Buzukja throws some heat back at him, but Danny Silva should get his hand raised at the end of it. He trains with Cub Swanson. I feel like training with Cub, good team out there. Not that, Buzukja's not with a good gym. I just think Danny Silva's going to find a way to win. So I'm going with him to pull through. He's 9-1, Buzukja 12-4. I don't know. I just got a feeling. And even the loss Danny Silva has to Kainan Kawe, bro, it was a close-ass fight. And it should have been a draw, to be honest with you, because, Danny Silva did well late. Minus 240 for Danny Silva, Buzukja plus 205. Damn, I'm telling you, bro, chalky-ass odds. Over 2.5, minus 190. I'm going to anticipate it goes a bit longer. Should be a good fight between the two. I think it's a scrappy matchup. I think Danny Silva gets a hard-fought win. On the judges' scorecards, competitive, but he's the rightful winner at the end of it all. Next fight brings us to our main card opener. This is actually the first of 2 Ultimate Fighter finales on the card, but the other one, we don't even know who's going to be facing off until Tuesday, so we'll wait until later in the week to break that one down during Thursday's Late Night Live breakdown and also the weigh-in show. So let's get into it, man. Make sure you guys smash the like, subscribe. Ryan Loder versus Robert Valentin. The reason I'm going with Valentin, okay, I'm picking him, is because he's simply just a lot more violent. The dude gives very heavy Yuri Prohashka vibes. He seems to be slightly on the side of insanity, which I like a lot in fights. And it's also a light heavyweight matchup. Ryan Loder is just a non-deaf spinoff of Matt Hamill. That's the vibe I get. He's actually dyslexic, interesting enough. So dyslexic Matt Hamill instead of the deafness, he's got that. I'm not even trying to make a joke. I like Loder. He's a good dude. I like him through the Ultimate Fighter. He's a good All-American wrestler. I mean, he's got okay enough striking. He works a decent jab. He's a southpaw, but his game is built upon control, and he beat the shit out of, I can't remember the name, but he beat the shit out of the one guy in the first fight, and then the second fight, in the semifinals, he was pretty competitive, and then the third round, he actually seemed to lose. I think Valentin's just too scary. He gets a vicious elbow knockout, and then he ends up getting like, I don't even know the submission name. Inverted Americana with the legs. I don't know. Somebody tell me the submission name that Valentin pulled off in his semifinal fight for the Ultimate Fighter, because it was so badass. The dude is just more dangerous, right? Like, what is Loder going to do? He's just going to pressure wrestle for 3 rounds? I'll tell you something. If Loder goes out, pressure wrestles and wins, happy for the guy. He seems like a nice dude. But, bro, terrible for the Ultimate Fighter. And I think it keeps pushing the claim that the show is dead. Whereas if Valentin gets a knockout, he's a fun guy to watch at 185 pounds with a violent style. He's got 6 submissions, too. He's well-rounded, man. I like his game. He blitzes a bit wildly at times, but I think it's effective, and he's definitely got the heavy danger factor. I think Loder's going to get hurt on the feet. You're definitely going to see Loder looking to wrestle, but I think Valentin does bring the grappling threat on his own side, and honestly, way more MMA experience for Valentin at 10-3 than Loder at 6-1. Regardless of how good of a collegiate wrestler Loder is, I don't think that he's going to be able to just body Valentin for 3 rounds. I think Valentin's going to do some damage. I think he's going to rock him, put his lights out. I'm going Robert Valentin for the knockout win, and he seems like a really exciting guy to have on the roster. I'm looking forward to it. The dude brings violence. His whole style is violence-based, and I'm going with him to violently end Ryan Loder. Odds for the fight, Valentin is -155 is the favorite, with Loder at +135. We don't even have an over-under yet. But I do think this fight ends inside of the distance, especially with Valentin winning. I think he's going to do some damage. I like the danger factor in fighters, especially coming off the Ultimate Fighter, man. We're looking for the most entertaining guys, and Valentin is exactly that. He's got a crazy personality. He's got a super entertaining style, and I think he's putting Ryan Loder to sleep in the Ultimate Fighter middleweight finale for season 32. We're going with Valentin. Let's start it off with a bang. Next fight on the card, we have Michael Morales versus Neil Magny. I mean, you have to go with Michael Morales. Neil Magny was losing pretty clearly to Mike Malott before, comeback and an absolute turnaround. But Malott sold, man. He gassed late and then he got finished. Morales is not going to sell like that. Morales is a slick prospect. He's got pretty good striking. He's fast. He's pretty technical. He is an Ecuadorian wrestling champ. He's got a well-rounded game. I like his straight shots. I like his lateral movement. I like the fact that he could mix in some takedowns here. Neil Magny's definitely the biggest fight of Michael Morales' career. But I do think Morales is going to get through the Neil Magny gate. The king, the gatekeeper extraordinaire, Neil Magny. I think Morales has got the keys to unlock it, man. I think he's going to pull it off. So I'm going with Michael Morales. I think he moves up to 17-0. I think he's got some good talent. He's athletic as hell. He's slick on the feet. He's got wrestling. Kind of every aspect of the game seems to be covered. Now, at 25, he's a bit young. And now beating a Neil Magny is going to put you in the mix. And you're going to have to fight some absolute savages in the top 15. I think this fight here for Morales will let us know if he's ready or not. Even though I think the win is a certainty. Is he ready for some of the better guys at 170 in the rankings? I don't know. I don't know yet. We'll find out Saturday, I believe. Looking at the odds. Are we kidding? -610 for Michael Morales. Neil Magny +435. Horrible lines. Over 2.5, -190. I'm going Morales by a decision. Magny's hard to put away. He's got a good chin on him. If Morales locked up a sub, that'd be major. But, I mean, look, Adam Fugit knockout, Trevin Giles knockout. So there is knockout potential. Decision of Griffin. Decision of Jake Matthews. I'm going Michael Morales to win by unanimous decision. He passes the Neil Magny test. I'm sure Magny will have a couple moments, but I think Morales is just too athletic, too slick. Magny, what's he going to do? Hold him against the cage for 3 rounds? He's going to wait till Morales is gassed and he's going to land some bombs? I personally just don't see it. I'm going with Michael Morales for the W, so picking him to take home a massive win. Next fight on the card. Featured bout of the night. Edmund Shahbazyan versus Gerald Meerschaert. I'm going with Edmund Shahbazyan. He has to beat Gerald Meerschaert. Please. No way. Does he sell versus Meerschaert? No, I don't think he does. Shahbazyan's a really good striker. I mean, at one point, people thought that he was the next big thing. He's kind of dwindled down as far as hype goes, but just take a minute and think about his losses. Derek Brunson, who, top caliber opponent. Jack Hermanson, top caliber. Nasruddin Imavov, top caliber. Anthony Hernandez, top 15. 4 losses, but the guys that beat him were just really good. Gerald Meerschaert on the other side, he's coming off of the win against Brian Barberena, but Barberena is the most one-dimensional guy in the UFC. I don't even think he's in the UFC anymore, but at least he was. And then Petrosky, close split decision. Wasn't a great fight. Joe Pyfer destroyed him. He beat Bruno Silva, which at the moment was a pretty massive win because he dropped him. And then lost to Jocko by a decision. We haven't seen Meerschaert knocked out in a little bit. It's been a few fights. I think Edmen Shahbazyan can get the highlight reel knockout. He's definitely improved his wrestling abilities, and that's going to be a major asset to beat a guy like Gerald Meerschaert, because Meerschaert definitely wants this fight in the ground. Meerschaert's stand-up is meh. He's a southpaw, and he's got okay striking. I think it kind of gets hated on too harshly because of some knockout losses. But I think in a boxing match, Gerald Meerschaert is beating Paul Craig, all right? So it's not that bad. And I'm hoping that Paul Craig and Gerald Meerschaert can at some point fight, because I think that's the fight that we all want to see. I'm going with a Shahbazyan knockout. I think he picks his shots well, fends off takedowns. Meerschaert's going to be so uncomfortable on the feet, and I think Shahbazyan's getting a highlight reel. Dude, at one point, Shahbazyan knocked out Brad Tavares in the first round. He's got some knockout capabilities. Even though he was rocked last time against AJ Dobson, again, Dobson's boxing, more dangerous than Meerschaert's striking, I think, too. So, Shahbazyan for the win. Just got to stay off the ground with Meerschaert, and he takes home a dominant W. 3-1 favorite, Edmen Shahbazyan. He's minus 300. Meerschaert's plus 250 as the underdog. Over 1.5, minus 130. I would rather go under 2.5. Don't know where that's at, but I think the under 2.5 is just going to make more sense simply because Meerschaert could last a little bit. I mean, he could head into, the later stage of the second round. I do think Shahbazyan's going to hurt him and knock him out. Probably in the second round, actually. Could be in the first, but I kind of lean towards the second because Shahbazyan, especially at this point, is not going to rush it unless the knockout just comes to him. Imagine highlight reel head kick knockout for Shahbazyan. That'd be pretty crazy. So Edmen Shahbazyan, the pick. I think he's getting a knockout. He's sending Meerschaert to the shadow realm. So Shahbaz for the W. And he's at Extreme Couture now. I think they got his wrestling shirt up. I think Shahbazyan's going to be good. Co-main event of the evening, Angela Hill versus Tabatha Ricci. I'm going with Angela Hill. I've been winning consistently when I pick Angela Hill, and I'm not going to step away. I thought that Ricci could have lost that fight against Tisha Pennington. I'm going to be that guy. Fight before that, she lost to Lupi Godinez. Ricci's striking is not that good. She got decent speed and flurries, but they're kind of chaotic and wild at times, a little flaily. She flails her arms a little bit. She does have good jiu-jitsu and relatively good wrestling, but at this level, Angela Hill's takedown defense has been holding up nicely. She's definitely got the better striking. She's definitely got the faster hands. She's cleaner on the feet. She's coming off a submission of Luana Pinheiro, so she's showing new wrinkles to her game at 39. Angela Hill, somehow, some way, has gotten better and I think more athletic as she's headed into her later 30s. Angela Hill's fought everybody. She is a masterclass veteran. And I think Angela Hill is on her way to get a decision win over a game Tabatha Ricci, but she's just going to be outgunned. And if you remember, Angela Hill pulled off a competitive decision win over Lupi Godinez. And to be fair, Tabatha Ricci is a similar mold to the likes of Lupi Godinez and close split decision fight with her. Angela Hill's on the 2-fight win streak. Pinheiro, Denise Gomes. Fight before that, she lost to Mackenzie Dern. That's forgivable, though. Mackenzie Dern is that tide jump just a bit higher. I feel like Tabatha Ricci doesn't have that good of hands. I feel like she's a tad bit overrated. I don't know. The hype on Tabatha Ricci is always there because of, I think, her, her appearance, her finishes early. I don't know. But not like she's finishing everybody. Polyana Viana decision. She submitted Jessica Pennington with an armbar. Beat Jillian Roberts. That's a good win. Lost to Lupi there. Beat Pennington barely, but I didn't think she won that fight. I think Angela Hill does more damage in a really close fight. I don't think it's a washout, but I think Angela Hill takes it on the scorecards. We're definitely going distance with these ladies. If there's a finish in this fight, I'm going to be shocked. Minus 120 for Angela Hill. She opened up, actually, as an underdog. Plus 100 for Tabatha Ricci. I'm going with Angela Hill to take home the win. The over 2.5 is minus 500. Expect it to swell. It's probably going to be minus 600 by the end of the week. I think Angela Hill for the win. Judges' scorecards. Decision. 29-28, maybe 30-27. I feel like Hill's takedown defense is good. And then striking for Ricci, not good enough to deal with a well-versed kickboxing that Angela Hill is going to bring to the table. So we're going with Angela Hill to get it done. I think she's still got it. I think she's more than still got it. I mean, look at the streak she's on. 2 fights in a row wins. 4-1 in her last 5. And the losses to Dern. A lot of things to like, even at 39 for Angela Hill. Let's jump to our main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the likes. And if you're new, subscribe. Jared Cannonier versus Caio Borralho. I'm going to go with Caio Borralho. I'm picking against Cannonier, man. I think Borralho gets him. Borralho's gone 5 rounds before, and that was a massive selling point to add confidence in my prediction because I was worried. I'm like, man, he hasn't gone long. And then you dig in, he looked good in the 5th round in a fight. It was like a regional level fight, but it was a 5-round fight, and he still was bouncing like he normally does. So the gas tank of Caio Borralho, I think, is good. The Fighting Nerds team is on fire right now. Prata is also working with those Fighting Nerds guys. Look at the knockout he got. I feel like he's just coming together too smoothly, man. I don't think that Jared Cannonier at 40 is beating this young savage. I went back and watched Cannonier. Against Imavov, he had okay moments, but he was definitely getting stung in that fight. And he was rocked at the stoppage, but he wasn't out. Herzog screwed him with a bad stoppage. But I'll tell you this, I do think he was going to lose the fight. Fight before that, before the knee injury, he fights Marvin Vettori. Bro, Vettori is cracking him in the 1st round. And let's be real here. Marvin Vettori ain't that high level, man. Marvin Vettori's biggest win is what? Kevin Holland? Jack Hermanson? He's taking more losses, man. And let's be fair, too. He's got a win over Dolidze on paper, but I thought Roman Dolidze may have gotten that decision, right? They gave it the other way. So, okay, he beat a Marvin Vettori. When you really dig into the resume, though, as of late, I just don't think Cannonier's got the goods. He's got that loss to Adesanya. He beat Strickland, but it was a bad decision, and then Imavov lost. So he's lost, what? In my opinion, he's lost 3 out of his last 4 fights, with the 1 win being a Marvin Vettori, who is like a stuck-in-the-mud striker and mostly just uses toughness and strength to like bully some guys, and that wouldn't work against a Cannonier. But Borralho is a very light on his toes striker with a karate-type bounce, good distance management, but also does a good job of moving in and out of range. And on top of that, has really good grappling. And he has a takedown threat in this fight. I do think we'll see Caio Borralho get this fight to the ground at some point. As we get into the later stages, I think Caio Borralho could actually shine and thrive in the later rounds. Jared Cannonier's never been submitted as a pro, and I feel like Borralho has been kind of a bit more of a decision machine. But as you see some of these guys form their crafts to a different level, and the excellence just all blends together and it grows, right? There seems to be certain guys that then become finishing machines. I don't know. I just think Borralho might be live for a submission, but my initial lean in my chest, right, when I feel it in my heart and in my brain too, was Caio Borralho on the scorecards beating Jared Cannonier. But I don't know. I'm feeling something about this submission. Do we have any lines for the sub? No, we don't have it yet. We'll talk odds throughout the week. Minus 195 for Borralho. He's growing as a favorite. He opened up at minus 150. Look at it now. Plus 170 Cannonier. Borralho's growing even more as a favorite. He's 2-1. Yeah, I think Borralho's got Cannonier's number, man. Over 3.5, minus 160. I don't know why I got this weird inkling we might get a finish in the 3rd round by sub, or even the 2nd. Borralho takes Cannonier down, jumps his back. Like, let's keep it honest, though. Who's the best jiu-jitsu practitioner Cannonier has ever faced off with? When you look at the resume, who? Jack Hermanson? Glover Teixeira. I guess he went distance with him back in 2017. Survived that, but different grappling style, though. I'm not saying it's a lock that Borralho's going to get a sub. He does have, only 4 submission wins, opposite 7 decisions, but he does have good skills on the ground, and it's possible. I will stick to my guns as the official prediction is going to be Caio Borralho wins a decision. But something in my gut is telling me there's a live chance for Borralho to lock up a submission against Cannonier here. A 40-year-old Cannonier, when guys hit that 40 mark, you don't know when it's going to slip. He was losing a bit to Imavov. Has he gotten better since then? or has he gotten worse since then? I know for a fact Caio Borralho has probably gotten better in 3 months since he beat the shit out of Paul Craig. Now, knocking out Paul Craig in a striking match with a good grappling skill set so you force him into a stand-up fight, you know, maybe it's not the most impressive thing in the world, but it's still a knockout win nonetheless. And Borralho definitely does have legitimate power in his hands, and he's got nice punch combinations. And like I said, the speed is there, the bounce is there, and I think it's there for all 5 rounds. I also really like Borralho's defensive striking capabilities, and I think as Cannonier looks to close the gap, pressure, and throw wide shots, I see Borralho being able to move, slip, slide, block, parry. I just think that it's Borralho's time now. Cannonier is slowed just a tad, and I believe that the threat of submissions on the ground, the threat of takedowns, the elusive striking game, the really good gas tank, I think the prospect, the contender on the come-up, Caio Borralho, now breaks into the elite of the UFC middleweight division with the biggest win of his life against Jared Cannonier this Saturday. So I'm going with Caio Borralho, back in fighting nerds. That's the way to go. Because you pick against fighting nerds, for the most part, you taking L's. Caio Borralho for the win over Jared Cannonier. Those are my predictions for UFC Vegas 96. I hope you guys enjoyed them. Man, you know how long I spent studying this card? Last week was a rough and tumble event. So I say, shit, I'm putting 8 hours into this damn thing. So that's why the video's out a little later. But I'm feeling confident, man. I feel like I did my thing with the study. I know some people in the comments say, bro, this guy never watched film. You know what? Believe what you want to believe. Either way, I think the picks this week, they're pretty clean. And this is going to be a wild-ass card because it's a lower caliber card. Like, these matchups are not high tier. Like I was saying at the beginning, man, UFC, give me an off week after a damn 305, because sitting here and studying for this, I found myself a little bit irritated. I'm like, bro, the level difference between this and last week is bothering me. It's like a whole different organization, but it's fine. The main event's still great. There's good fights on the main card. There's some sneaky fun fights on the prelims. We get to, you know, watch our girl Cong Wang represent the Cong Wang gang early on, so it's not all bad. Make sure you guys tune into the Fight Companion. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for 36,000 subscribers. We're growing every day. I appreciate you all. Smash the like button if you're new. Subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments down below the picks. I want to hear from the people. Drop some of your picks too. And W in the comments if you got nothing to say, just to support your boy. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.